Welcome to Business Mentorship, Keepin It Real, where we feature entrepreneurs and enterprise leaders who share their great ideas in our guest blog found on shareyourstories.online. Our guest is Gay Hamilton, Director of Business Development for a tech company specializing in cybersecurity. We're going to discuss her career in tech and how she's working with business owners to create safe and secure online environments. And Gay joins us from Kitchener, Ontario. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
I have to say, Gay, I always ask folks before when we're doing the pre-marketing for the show, if you have any questions and you're unable to join us, send me a DM. Well, I'm going to share with you, I think 132 is the number of our live guests today. And I have never received so many questions as I have when I mention cybersecurity. I don't know why those two words, they either create absolute terror and fear, or they're like, yes, let's get on that. So maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about how, as a woman, you became involved in the tech industry.
Well, it's kind of interesting in the sense that I started my career back in the day where we had a huge IBM mainframe computer on the second floor, and security was as simple as locking the door. That was it. None of us could get in. It was all great. And as we started to work on this project to move to distributed processing and desktop computing and stuff, they were looking for people that would get involved and have to deal with this whole thing. And for some reason, it just suited my background, I guess. And I've always been a little bit too direct and a little bit too forceful in dealing with groups of women. But when I got into groups of men, it was all fine and it was all good. And I have very thick skin, so it was all fine. And away it went from there. And then just by chance, had an opportunity to do the director of customer service for a .com startup back in 2000. Again, all the guys in me, and sort of learned from the ground up. I mean, I walked into the company not knowing what a browser was. I mean, we weren't using them on a day-to-day basis even yet. And email was a very new thing, and that kind of stuff. So I kind of learned it as I went, and then grew with it. And I think that's kind of helped me feel more comfortable having the background in. I know how the processes work and what it all means. Exactly the bits and bytes and how we actually do all this stuff, I don't need to know. I don't think.
That's so true. That's a wonderful point, because I think that as we're all seeing people in business are having to expand our platform. So, we used to use websites almost like a business card. It was a place for information. Nobody even had contact forms back then. It was just kind of this place where there was, a little bit of information on our company. We didn't put things like our team and the bios. And so things have changed significantly. Yes. But now that we've expanded to this global platform and environment, and there's so many people whose products and services are able to ship worldwide. And so now what comes into play is this whole idea about security, because we all want to make sure that not only our data and the information that we're holding on our sites is secure, but our customers are secure in providing the information that they need to engage with our websites. So is there something or a little bit of advice that you could give to all of those folks who may be into this, new frontier of online sales that can maybe alleviate a little of the stress and give them maybe just a little tip that they can use to say, I get it, I understand, but here's a little something that you can do to start a new conversation?
Absolutely, yes. And again, it depends on the size of the company, depends on the position of the person that they're in. So for example, a solopreneur whose life depends on a cell phone. Your whole entire business, your whole entire world is on that cell phone, and how do you make sure that it's protected? So there's various programs that you can buy or subscribe to that are going to help make sure that that's all that more secure. And then we sort of go up the chain from there to the very large companies that have full-blown networks and many endpoints. So people connecting from home people connecting from the office, from the Starbucks, on a phone, on a laptop, on an iPad, all that kind of stuff. It all fits in. And there are products and services today that are packaged, if you will, ready to go, that will cover off every single aspect out there. It's a matter of finding someone you trust, and that's the one thing I
Right.
would say is find someone that you trust and that you understand. So when you ask a question and they say, something that doesn't make any sense or that you can't understand, that's not the right provider for you. That's somebody that's more of a technical background.
Right.
And I think that's one of the reasons that I really love the people that I'm working with now is they can speak technology with the best of them, but they also speak English. And they're
Right.
they're real live human beings. And that I think is the difference in our company is we talk about the people aspect of it. So our sales techs, our technology technicians are all based on people that like people and like to integrate with people and like to talk back and forth. Because as we know, the IT industry has a bit of a black eye in the sense that a lot of people assume that IT people don't like to talk to people and don't want to engage and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So we've been really lucky with that group. Yes.
One of the questions that we were asked more and more and more often, I'm not kidding. There were quite a few questions. And one of the question that came up, and it's to the point that you've just made recently, and maybe you can help to decipher that. Someone said, when I go to my local coffee shop and I jump on their Wi-Fi and I'm speeding through my emails or whatever it is that I'm doing, and I notice in the top line, in the top corner of the browser, insecure, unsecure. What does that mean? Does that mean that I'm now exposing all of my data? I can get hacked while I'm sitting there having my coffee? That seriously was a question that was probably asked the most
Yeah.
in all of the DMs that I received.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is true. And yes, you are at risk and you do need to be careful
Really?
still with where you're going and what you're doing and that kind of stuff. So in our world, like generally we're selling to small, medium-sized companies.
Right.
So a small company would have protection in their environment so that if you reached in from an open,
Source.
unprotected source,
Right.
the company is going to be protected. Okay. We
Ah.
can also put software on your phone to make sure that your phone is actually protected as well as. So it's got that two-way street
Double duty. Yeah.
going on. Yeah.
That's really an important point. Thank you for sharing that because I think we all have this misnomer that, where you and I are on this wonderful platform, you're in Kitchener, I'm here in Ancaster, and we're totally safe because we're sitting in our home office environment and, there's nobody around. And yet there's a whole big wide world out there that's not only listening to you and I have a conversation and watching our video,
Yeah.
but that we don't realize that there's lots of doors open while we're on these individual platforms. So that's a wonderful thing for people to remember that, we do have to take that extra little bit of caution especially when there's so many people who are now traveling,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Traveling again. Yes, absolutely. Working from home, I mean, I heard a story a little while ago. This husband and wife are stuck at home in COVID. He dials into an unprotected network, infects their home network,
Oh,
which
no.
then, right? So yeah, it is extremely dangerous and it is high risk. And there's no such thing as, oh, I'm too small, they're not coming after me.
Right.
Or I
Right.
don't have the kind of data that they want, so
Right.
I'm not going to get hit. Generally, people and especially in the smaller businesses or individuals, you get hit by accident. So they're going
Yeah,
to draw a
exactly. Yeah.
broad sweep and
Yeah.
and get you by accident. But
Yeah, I mean, to your point, not all of us are running these large, Fortune 500 conglomerates where you feel that you're probably an easier target because they're so large and they're all over everywhere. And
yeah,
the small to medium sized business or the solopreneur says, I'm just this little tiny person way here in no man's land.
yeah,
Nobody's going to be interested in what I'm doing. But I think the other question that came up, and perhaps you could help, is the social platforms that we're all participating in, and we're using them now to market our businesses, we're using to advertise products and services, and we're really using it as a new frontier to connect with not only existing customers but prospects. So when the question that came up was, are those social networks secure? Like if I'm tapping into, Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever, do they have security measures that are going to help protect me as a participant on their platform?
Yes, and I would say generally, yes, they do. But for example, and this is a scam that we saw not very long ago as well. You get a message in like an email that comes in. It looks like it came from somebody on LinkedIn, and it says something to the effect of, I'm looking to connect with you. Click here, and and it's not really from LinkedIn, and you can
Right.
click those, that's one way you can run into an issue. And at the same time too, all LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter has to say is we're completely safe. There's no way anybody could hack us, and they'll get hacked. And by getting hacked, it's a
Yeah.
it's a waterfall effect, and
Yeah,
you
for
could, yeah.
sure. For
Now
sure.
it's more secure than a lot of other things that are out there that you could be using and so on. But there's no
Right.
such thing as you're never going to get
Never
hacked.
going to get you
Absolutely,
right. Right.
absolutely, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
one of the things that you mentioned, and I'd like to explore this a little bit further. Thank you for sharing your expertise in answering the questions from folks who sent me a DM. You mentioned that you're the only female in the room. And, those were the days when, blue suits and red ties were the folks who were in tech and who were starting all these .com companies. Now, I'm sure that and I know that you do some mentoring of other folks who are sort of coming up the ranks. But as a woman who has been in the tech industry for a number of years that you have, are you seeing any changes with the folks who are graduating from universities and colleges with tech backgrounds? Are they more accepted? Is there any more acceptance? Are you seeing anything different when you're perhaps hiring in your role or meeting new people who are coming into your field?
Yes. And yes, I would say, yes, there are significant changes being made. I can remember, back in the day, 20 years ago, if there was a group that was for women only and some kind, I would avoid it like the plague because
Mhm.
those people didn't have any power. There was nobody
Right,
that, could really go.
right.
The women's networking groups that I found lately are really, really great. This small company in Burlington that I'm dealing with, almost half of the staff is female, which
Wow.
I think is great. Our general manager is a woman. Our technology folks, are women. So yes, there is change coming. It's slow, of course, but we're getting there. Yeah.
Now, one of the other things that we're sort of seeing in the dynamics and the change of work, and I'm sure you're finding this more often as well with the hybrid model of some folks, post pandemic, we're now seeing people going back to work. So, this hybrid model of perhaps spending 2 or 3 days at home or 2 or 3 days in the office and kind of doing a mixed work environment. Are you finding that there's any changes in the dynamic of services for the home office? Because I'm sure that when you're looking at cybersecurity or you're looking at folks who are looking for more up-to-date information, this new hybrid model has got to be part of the new service world because
It
it's
it
different.
absolutely, yeah, it absolutely is. It adds a lot of complexity. Um, and generally the companies that are the most successful with it, from what we've seen, are the ones that sit down and say, okay, we're going to embrace this. We're going to offer this as a way to attract employees and to keep that customer satisfaction level sort of
Right.
thing going with even with customers and employees. Um, and yeah, so for example, I have a friend that works at Staples. So you can imagine how drastically different their business plan is.
Sure.
They will package an office, so a home office into a box and ship it to your home, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of changes in technology and a lot of things that especially that we can do that help shore that up so that you can feel safe and secure both at home and in the office. Or if you're stopping at Starbucks on the way to, this long commute that we're now doing as opposed to just from the bedroom to the office
Right.
and the thing. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Now, if I'm a solopreneur and I've got, I've done all the behind the scenes to get an e-boutique or an online store, and I'm collaborating with different folks, but I'm still a little nervous about my security. I still sort of feel, maybe I haven't done enough. I kind of put everything in place, but now I need to take the next step. What advice can you provide for that individual who's a solopreneur, who's sitting listening to us in our viewing and listening audience and saying, okay, but how do I secure my data? What do I do?
Yeah.
Is there something that you can help them with in order to connect the dots?
Yeah. And so generally, like, we're dealing with companies more so than just individuals. But I mean, absolutely, if you're if you're hearing this, please reach out to me. We do have a cybersecurity awareness assessment on the website
Oh,
that you can click
okay,
into, and
perfect.
it's a free service that we can have a look at and refer things back. A lot of our products and services are for bigger companies, so not
Mhm.
necessarily fitting in with a solopreneur. But I would, 100% go with products from companies that are well known. So, for example, Microsoft is doing some really great things, and I know, like, you sort of get into that camp of Microsoft or
Or
Apple, or
Apple, yeah.
both of those companies are keenly focused on the cybersecurity. There's an incredible amount of security running constantly in the background, both with Apple and with Microsoft, on your individual device to help protect. Because the more, somebody who's got a Microsoft account gets hacked and people hear about it,
Hmm.
the worse it is for everybody. So
For
there's
sure.
a lot of things going on in the background. So there's a lot of information and knowledge that you can get just by Googling Microsoft training. And they'll talk to you about, how to make sure that your email is secure, how to do checks and balances. You can do, initial testing with them. There's a lot of stuff that they do, and I speak to Microsoft because that's kind of the product suite that we're in. I know the same thing is happening with Apple, that you can go to an Apple store, for example, and say, here's my phone. How secure is it really? What else should I be doing? Are there,
Right,
are
right.
there more things to do? So for the individual, I would suggest that too. One of the other things we offer is a cybersecurity awareness training program. So once a month, we'll send you out a training program that talks about phishing. What is phishing? What does that mean? How does it get it? What happens if I get malware on my phone? What do I do if, say, for example, your business is still small, but you want cyber insurance? We can connect you to an insurance agent that has the background and the experience and the knowledge to be able to actually help you out, that kind of stuff. And it's $29.95 a year. So
Right.
$2.50 a month, you get an email once a month that talks about training, and it raises the awareness.
Hmm.
It helps keep top of mind, and it raises things like, we do things like, early in April, we're set out to send a message to everybody to say, hey, end of April is when your taxes are due. Watch out for
Right,
those emails that come in to say, I'm writing from the CRA, and if you click this link, we'll get your refund faster.
right.
That's
Yeah,
never
not
going
so much.
and they're never going to get you that refund anyway.
No,
So
no.
that's totally bogus. But yeah, so just those kind of reminders, and as the war with Ukraine and Russia really kicked up, there was a tremendous surge in cyber that we've seen worldwide.
Hmm.
So again, we were sending out messages to say, hey, watch out for these kinds of things. These are the new, latest and greatest, attacks that we're seeing in the world. Yeah.
That's really wonderful advice, because to be able to get information by a newsletter or through email, and I'm sure you do little videos and things like that as well, it helps to demystify or maybe give us a little bit more confidence. Because I think part of the thing that also that came up in the questionnaire was, I don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
I really, I have no idea. I know I have this broad idea, but
Yeah.
I really don't know to drill down the questions. So your information system can really help people to build their confidence, and then
Yes.
they can ask the right questions and build the right relationships. So
That's right.
thank
And
you
at the
very
same
much.
time too, and I think this is one of those important pieces, is especially for a small or medium-sized company. Come to us, let us do this initial assessment
Assessment. Right.
for you. You may be fine. You may
Right.
be in great
Right.
shape, and
Yeah.
you're up at night walking the floors thinking,
Worrying.
"Oh,
Yeah.
should I be worried?"
Right.
Or, or there's a one small thing that you could do that's a very inexpensive, very, low cost change that you can make that's going to make all the difference in the world.
Oh, that's really very helpful, Gay. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for that. And I'm sure all of the folks who asked specific questions, hopefully I've raised them or posed them in a way where the information that you've provided is helping to answer that. One of the things that we do in the guest blog is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice. And your 3 words are kind of poignant for the industry that you're in. And that says, take the risk.
Yeah.
So share with us why those 3 words are so important.
Well, it's interesting because, we're constantly talking about risk and risk avoidance and how to
Right.
make sure that you're going to be okay. And it, it sort of feeds into that, asks the questions.
Right.
Make sure that you're covered off. Make sure, look at the risk from that perspective. But generally what I found in my life is the times that I've had the most fun, I've had the greatest experiences are when it was a huge risk and it was a huge, like, big change in my life. For example, I moved to Ireland for 18 months for a job contract at one point, and it could have gone either way.
Right.
Turns out it was the best experience of my life. And worst case, it's only 18 months.
Right.
You can, it's not forever. You can always undo, you can always change and shift and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a flexibility, be open and flexible and but take the risk when you see the opportunities. So, to the younger kids that are, looking at, I'm in university, do I go through the whole thing and then, jump right into the job market? I would say absolutely travel, like
Right.
absolutely spend some time, get to know the rest of the world. There's so much more going on than we're aware of in our own little worlds. But yeah, just, take the risk. It's worth it.
That's really wonderful advice personally and professionally, because I think, in the example that you cited, you took a risk personally by leaving, things that were comfortable in your home environment, and it was tied to a professional opportunity. So, what a wonderful way to tie up the conversation that we've had today about not only looking outside our comfort zone in terms of asking the right questions, but just take the risk, right? Just do it, really.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, Gay. I know it's been very helpful.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the time.
To our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us in this edition of Keeping It Real, where we introduced you to the person behind the logo. I'm Trish Tonai, founder and host for the series, and if you're interested in sharing your business story, visit our website at shareyourstories.online. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.